What is good, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back, everybody, to the channel. I am August, and today I want to talk about something that we hear about all the time, especially as Christians, right? And that is love. But I don't just want to talk about love as a feeling. You know what I mean? I want to talk about what it actually means to love people, the way that God has called us to love them, right? And I mean, the title is simple, ladies and gentlemen. As you can see by the thumbnail, you can see by the title itself, love at all costs. Because I feel like it's easy to say that you love someone when everything is going good, right? It's easy to love someone who, it's easy to love someone when they treat you right. It's easy to love somebody when they show support and they encourage you, they check on you, they agree with you, they show up for you. But then what about those times, or what happens when they don't? What happens when someone disappoints you? What happens when someone you love or someone you trust, they hurt you? You know what I mean? What happens when someone disrespects you, calls you out of your name, makes you feel guilty about something? What happens when someone talks poorly about you? What happens when someone betrays you? What happens then? What happens when loving someone actually causes you something, right? Because you have to give up something, right? Can you still love them then? Because I personally believe that where we begin to see the difference between the way the world talks about love and the way God calls us to love, like the difference is there, and before we even get to what Jesus says in John 13, I want to go all the way back to the book of Leviticus, right? Let's talk about the 10 Commandments real quick, okay? Leviticus 19:18 says, "Do not seek revenge or bear a grudge against anyone among your people, but love your neighbor as yourself. I am the Lord." The Lord says this, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. Now here's the thing with that, okay? That's already a powerful command, right? Because God is God is saying the same consideration you have for yourself, have that consideration for someone else, right? And when it comes to that, the same mercy you will want someone to show you, show it to someone else. The same, how can I put it in words? The same patience you want people to have with you, it's the same patience you will want to have with someone else, right? The same grace you want when you mess up, be willing to extend that same grace to someone else who messes up, right? Love your neighbor as yourself. And notice what comes right before that command, okay? Do not seek revenge. Do not hold a grudge. Don't go after revenge. Don't hold grudges. Then God says, love your neighbor as yourself, right? So even here, biblical love was never just about loving people who treat you well, right? God is dealing with the heart, because it's always been a heart issue. He's dealing with revenge. He's dealing with grudges. Okay? He's dealing with what happens on the inside of us when people or something happens to us. But then we get to John chapter 13, and then we have Jesus. He says something that takes this even further, right? In John 13:34, Jesus says, "A new command I give you, love one another as I have loved you." So you must love one another. And I want you to catch the difference here, because in Leviticus, we see love your neighbor as yourself, right? But then now we have Jesus in the New Testament. He says, love one another as I have loved you. Okay? This is so cool. Okay, watch, because Jesus is giving his disciples an even greater picture of what this love should look like, of what this love is and what it needs to look like. The standard of it is not simply how could I want someone to treat me, or how I would want someone to treat me, because now the question becomes, how has Jesus treated me? Right? How has Jesus loved me? How patient has Jesus been with me? You see where I'm going with this? It changes perspective. How much grace has Jesus shown me? How many times has Jesus forgiven me for things that I've done? How many times have I fallen short, but then he still loved me? Because if my standard for loving you was based only on how you treated me, the moment you stop treating me right, or the moment you stop treating me well, I'm gonna feel justified enough, and I'm no longer gonna want to treat you right. You see what I'm saying? Like, you disrespect me, I'm gonna disrespect you. You stop calling me, I'm gonna stop calling you. You call me out of my name, I'm gonna call you out your name. You hurt me, I hurt you. You talk to me, I talk about you. You know? You stop loving me, I'm gonna stop loving you. And now love has become nothing more than a transaction. You feel me? I'll give it to you as long as you give me this or that. But Jesus says, no, don't look at them to determine how you should love each other. Don't look at them and determine how you should love them, right? Look at me for the example. He says, as I have loved you, and that changes everything. It puts us in a different mindset, because Jesus hasn't only loved me when I gotten everything right. You feel me? Jesus hasn't only loved me when I was just obedient. Jesus hasn't only loved me when I prayed enough, read my Bible, went to church, or did everything I knew I was supposed to as a believer. Jesus loves me through, my mistakes. Jesus loves me through my mistakes. He loves me through my disobedience. He loves me through everything, my failures. He loves me when I knew better and I still chose wrong. He loves me when I wasn't even thinking about him. It's crazy because he's always thinking about me. And he loved me when I didn't even deserve it, and I still don't. And ultimately, he loved me enough to lay his life down for me. The ultimate sacrifice. So when Jesus says, as I loved you, love one another, that's a serious command. Because now Jesus is the standard. It's not based off what we think anymore. And that brings me to another question. What is actual love? Because we use that word so much that sometimes I think we forget what biblically or biblical love actually looks like. You know what I'm saying? Like it says in 1 Corinthians 13, I believe 4-8, love is patient, love is kind, it does not envy, it does not boast, it is not proud, it does not dishonor others, it is not self-seeking, right? Like love is all these things. It's not easily angered, it keeps no records of wrong. Love is all these things. Biblical love is all these things. Love does not delight in evil but rejoices in truth. It always protects, okay? Always trusts and always hopes. Love, that's what biblical love is. That's what biblical love looks like. It's always preserving. Love never fails. And when you actually sit with that description, you realize something, okay? That love costs. Patience causes you something. Kindness causes you something. Forgiveness causes you something, right? Like it's not, gosh, humility, it causes you something. Not keeping any record of everything someone has done to you, that's gonna cause you something. And sometimes love causes you your pride. Sometimes love causes you your need to have the last word. You don't need the last word to everything. Sometimes love causes you your desire to prove that you're right. Sometimes love causes you your comfort. Sometimes love can cause you your time, most definitely. Sometimes love requires you to forgive. Forgive someone who has never apologized before or doesn't even recognize that they're wrong. And let me make something clear. Forgiveness doesn't mean pretending that something never happened. Love does not mean allowing someone to continually mistreat you. Love does not mean you can't have boundaries. You need boundaries, right? Love does not mean calling something right when God says it's wrong. But love, this is what it means. This is what it means. I refuse to allow what you did to me to determine what comes out of me. You know what I'm saying? Like if Christ is living on the inside of me, then even someone who has hated me, who has shown hatred towards me, I'm not going to allow that to spill out of me, right? When someone disrespects me or has disrespected me, right? I can't allow disrespect to come out of me towards that person. When someone gives me bitterness does not have to come back out of me. I don't have to reciprocate that. You feel me? Because I'm not supposed to operate solely based off of what someone gives me or whoever decides to give me that. I'm supposed to operate from what God has placed on the inside of me, and that's Christ and the Holy Spirit, right? And Jesus gives us one of the best examples of this in John chapter 13. Because before Jesus tells his disciples to love one another as he has loved them, he shows them what love looks like in the most interesting way, okay? Jesus washes their feet, right? And we have to understand what that really meant, because in the first century, people were walking around in their sandals on dusty, dirty roads, heading God knows where. Their feet would be so filthy, right? Washing it wasn't glamorous. It was dirty work. But this was servants' work. And then here you have Jesus washing their feet, their teacher washing their feet, their Lord washing their feet, the Son of God washing their feet, getting down to wash their feet. The one who deserves to be served is serving other people. You feel me? But then there's something even more powerful in that, I think. Jesus knew exactly whose feet he was washing. He knew their weaknesses. He knew their failures. He knew what was coming. He knew about the betrayal. Jesus knew about Peter, who was going to deny him. Jesus knew that the disciples were going to scatter. Jesus knew about Judas, who was going to betray him. Jesus knew these things. He wasn't oblivious. Jesus knew the betrayal was coming, and he still got down and washed their feet. Just think about that for a minute, man. Jesus washed the feet of people who are about to fail him. Jesus washed the feet of the same people who didn't fully understand him. Right? Jesus washed the feet of people who he knew he was going to abandon. Jesus even washed the feet of the man who was going to betray him, Judas. Again, that is what love costs. Because naturally, we will say, oh wow, why should I serve you when I already know what you're going to do to me? Right? Why would I do that? I already know. Why should I show you any kindness and you haven't shown me any? Why should I love you and you don't love me? Why should I wash your feet? You don't deserve that. And yet we have Jesus who gets down and washes their feet anyway. Jesus demonstrates a love that goes beyond what someone deserves. And when I was studying this, something came to me that I really wanted you to hear, because this was good for me too. The feet of people during this time would have been one of the most dirtiest places on their bodies. Okay? Thinking about where their feet have been. Think about where they have gone. Think about what they would have walked through. Think about all the dirt that got piled up and just what they picked up along the way. And yet Jesus was still willing enough to get down and wash them, you know? And I started thinking about that spiritually, because regardless of what walk of life you may have came from, Jesus has the capacity and the love to wash it all away. I don't know where you have walked. I don't know. Some of y'all don't even know where I've walked. I don't know where you have walked through. I don't know where you may have picked up some dirt and may have left some mess behind. Okay? I don't know what mistakes you have made. I don't know any of that. I don't know what you're ashamed of, what you may be hiding, who you're still angry at. I don't know what you have done that makes you believe that God couldn't possibly still want you, right? But I do know this. Jesus isn't afraid of dirty feet. He's not afraid of your past, present, or future. He's not intimidated by your mistakes. He's not shocked by your sin. He's not standing at a distance saying, clean yourself up first and then you can come to me. He's not saying that. Jesus gets down and he washes your feet. And maybe there's someone out there watching this who has been carrying shame because of where they may have walked before. Maybe you've convinced yourself that because you walked through certain things, you're too dirty for God. But, you know, the same Jesus who washed the feet of the disciples is the same Jesus who went to the cross to deal with our sin, yours and mine. And the beautiful thing about that is I believe that he doesn't just look at the dirt. He sees the person underneath it. You see what I'm saying? When you start to understand how much you've been forgiven, when you understand how much grace you've received, when you understand how many times Jesus has washed you, it becomes harder to look at someone else and decide that they're unworthy of love. Their dirt might look different from yours, but it's still dirt. Their struggle might look different from yours, but it's still struggle. You know what I'm saying? Their mistakes might look different from yours, but it's still mistakes. But everybody still needs Jesus. And so do you, and so do I. None of us are perfect. None of us are standing here because we're clean enough. Okay? We're standing here, or sitting here, I should say, because Jesus was willing to wash us clean. And that's where loving people starts. It starts with understanding how deeply we have already been loved. You see what I'm saying? Because God's love was never supposed to stop with us. God's love comes to us, and then God's love should flow through us, right, towards other people. Jesus says in John 13:35, by this everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So now let's think about this. Let's think about this. Jesus doesn't say people will know you belong to him because you could quote most scriptures. He doesn't say that they'll know you because you have the biggest platform, right? He doesn't say that they'll know you because you go to church every Sunday, and you go to Bible study, and you do this, you do that. He doesn't say they'll know you because all the Christian languages and Hebrew and Arabic, whatever, right? He doesn't say any of that. He says, you'll know that you're my disciples by how you love. So one of the greatest pieces of evidence that Jesus is changing my life should be visible in the way that I treat other people, especially people who can't do anything for me. I know they can't do anything for me, especially people who are so difficult to love, especially people who have messed up like myself, especially people everyone else has already written off. And especially when trying to love someone knowing that it's going to cost me something. Because that's the type of love that Jesus starts looking at us differently with. And something else we need to understand about this is that love is not without power. Sometimes when we hear love, I feel like we think about something soft, like a pillow, right? Something passive, just be nice to everyone, right? But that's not biblical, right? Biblical love is not a weakness. Jesus was not a weak man. It takes power to love someone when you're in your flesh and you want revenge. It takes power to forgive and let yourself go, let yourself be free. It takes power to remain kind when you have every reason to become bitter. It takes power to get control of your tongue when you know exactly what you could say to hurt somebody, but you choose not to. It takes power to humble yourself. It takes power to serve. It takes power in all these different things. It takes power to love someone who has given you every reason not to. That's strength, right? Listen, because Matthew 6:33 tells us, seek first his kingdom and his righteousness. So when we seek the kingdom of God, we are learning to live under the rule of God instead of allowing our flesh to rule us. You feel me? Because my flesh might say, let's get even, let's get active, right? But God says to forgive this person. My flesh might say, hate them, but God says to love. It's complete opposites. You know, like my flesh may remind them of everything they have ever done wrong to me, right? But then we have 1 Corinthians saying that love doesn't keep any record of wrongs. My flesh may tell me, and it does, to serve myself. But then Jesus gets down and washes the feet of others. There's power in choosing God's way when your flesh wants something completely different. It's opposite. And when the Spirit of God is working in us, there should be evidence behind that. Galatians 5:22 and 23 tells us about the fruit of the Spirit, right? Love, joy, peace. Oh my gosh, it's so much. Patience, kindness. What's another one? Goodness, faithfulness, gentleness. It's so much that goes into that. Self-control. And the very beginning, or the very first thing mentioned with that is love. You can't separate a spirit-filled life from love. You know what I'm saying? You can talk about power all you want to. You can talk about gifts if you want to. You can talk about calling if you want to. You know what I'm saying? You can talk about purpose if you want to. You can talk about everything that we believe God is going to do through us. Okay? But if I'm gonna become a more if I'm in the process of becoming more spiritual while being less loving towards people, something is wrong there. Something is definitely wrong there, because the Spirit of God produces love. So maybe the question isn't just how much do I know about God? Maybe the question is, what is knowing God producing in me? Am I becoming more patient? Am I becoming more kind? Am I becoming more forgiving? Am I becoming more gentle? Am I becoming more self-controlled? Am I becoming more loving? When people encounter me, are they experiencing the fruits of the Spirit, or are they experiencing my flesh? Are they experiencing my anger, my bitterness, my pride? Are they dealing with me, my unforgiveness? Sometimes I feel like we spend too much asking God to change everyone else around us that we never stop to ask God, what are you trying to change in me? You know what I'm saying? Maybe the difficult person in your life is revealing an area where God is really trying to develop you, develop your patience. Maybe the person who's offended you is revealing unforgiveness still inside of you that you've been carrying for all these years, right? Maybe the situation that frustrates you the most is revealing that your love still has conditions attached to it, and it's transactional love. And again, love does not mean you can not have boundaries. Boundaries are important. You can love someone and still have boundaries. I'm all for boundaries, right? You can forgive someone and decide they no longer have the same access to you. That's completely fine. You can love somebody and still tell them the truth, right? Because there's love in truth, but you cannot express those boundaries as the excuse for hating somebody. It can't be an excuse for you having hatred of somebody, because there's a big difference between saying, I cannot allow you to continue to hurt me, and saying, because you hurt me, I want something bad to happen to you. There's a big difference there. That's where we have to check our hearts. Our hearts is the issue, because Jesus did not tell us to love people only when it's convenient. He has shown us what love is like, what love looks like, especially when it's costly. And ultimately, we see that on the cross. You know what I'm saying? Jesus didn't die for perfect people. Romans 5:8 tells us that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. While, not after, not when we get ourselves together, not after we got everything right, not after we prayed all night and we fasted and tried to prove that we deserve him. While we were still sinners, Christ died for us. That's love. That's love at all costs. He was mocked by people he loved. He was beaten by people that he loved. Right? He was rejected by people that he loved. The same Jesus crucified for people that he loved. And even while hanging on to that cross, Jesus was asking the Father for forgiveness. That's our example. And no, none of us are going to do this perfectly. I mean, bro, we're human. People are going to get on your nerves. Trust. People are going to hurt you. People are going to disappoint you. There will be moments where your first reaction is not always going to be the godliest reaction. It's not always going to be praise God, right? But the goal is to become more like Christ. And the closer I get to Jesus, the more his love should start changing the way I respond to things. So before I even respond out of anger, maybe I can stop, okay? Before I send that message, I can stop. Before I make that post, I can stop. Before I start gossiping about stuff, I can stop, right? Before I decide that someone is no longer worthy of love, I stop myself and I ask, Jesus, what does your love require of me right now? Sometimes love requires silence. Sometimes love requires a conversation. You feel me? Sometimes love requires forgiveness. Okay? Sometimes love requires correction. Sometimes love requires distance. Love requires a lot of things. It could require serving someone when no one else sees it. It's not for attention. It could require your pride, putting your pride down, and you being the one to apologize first, not the other person. Sometimes love will require you to show grace to someone that you don't think deserves it, even though we don't deserve it. But before you even say they don't deserve my grace, remember, like I just said, did we deserve his grace? That's what makes grace grace. So when I say love at all costs, I'm not saying destroy yourself trying to keep everyone happy. That's not what it is. I'm not saying become a people pleaser. I don't like to disappoint people, but you don't gotta take up with everybody's mess. You can't make everybody happy. I'm not saying tolerate any abuse they may be going through. I'm talking about loving people from the overflow of the love that has already been received and given out from Jesus. Because the more I understand how patient God has been with me, the more patience I can extend to someone else, right? The more I understand how much God has forgiven me, the more willing I am to forgive someone else, right? The more I understand the grace that God has given to me, the more I can understand how to extend that same grace to someone else. The more I understand that Jesus was willing to get down and wash my dirty feet, the less offended I should be at the idea of washing someone else's feet and forgiving them and looking over them, right? So I'm gonna leave you with this question. Before I end this video, I'm gonna leave you with this question. Who have you decided? How can I ask this question? Gosh, this is a tough question. I'm not gonna lie to you. Who have you decided doesn't deserve your love anymore? Who have you written off? Who are you still holding on to? Who are you holding something against? Who are you refusing to forgive? Who are you waiting on an apology for? Because chances are they may not apologize. And when I start asking these questions, matter of fact, I got another one for you. How has Jesus loved me in that process? Because that's the standard. Leviticus tells us, love your neighbor as yourself. And then Jesus gives us this incredible example. As I have loved you, love one another. So don't just ask, how would I want to be treated? Ask, how has Jesus treated me? Has Jesus loved me? How has Jesus forgiven me? How has Jesus been patient with me? How much grace has Jesus given to me? How has Jesus shown me mercy? How has Jesus served me? How has Jesus loved me? Really loved me? And then how can I do the same thing for someone else? How can I love when it's not easy? How can I love when it's uncomfortable? How can I love when no one is there to give you applause? I have to learn to love when I have to forgive someone. I have to love when I have to serve. I have to love when it causes me something. It can cost me my pride, right? I have to love when the other person can't give me anything back in return. I have to love because Christ loved me first. And when the world looks at us, I pray that, they don't just hear us talking about Jesus. I pray that they can see Jesus in the way that we love people, because people have heard Christians say that God is love, right? Now they need to experience that God is love. They need to experience that. And if you're watching this right now, and I'm trusting that you are, if you're watching this right now and you feel like you're that person with the dirty feet, like I am, if you feel like you've gone too far, or if you made too many mistakes, if you feel like your past is too messed up, if you feel like you made too many mistakes, if you honestly believe you walked too far away from God for him to still want you, remember Jesus, bro. Remember what he did. He got down. He humbled himself. He watched, regardless of what walk of life you came from. Jesus has the capacity to love and wash everything away. That's the gospel, bro. That's grace. That's love. That's Jesus. Love your neighbor as yourself. Love one another as Christ has loved you. Love at all costs, because he loved us first. I think that's all I got for y'all today. I hope y'all enjoyed. Again, this was Love at All Costs. And let me know what you think about the message. I would love to hear some input. Not just about the message, but just how you gonna apply this to your day-to-day. Love is a daily thing that we have to continue to express to people, regardless of their situation or regardless of any situation. But That's what we gotta do. Cause I want people to experience God, man. That's why I want to love at all costs. So I hope you enjoy this video. And again, let me know what you think. It's been real. And I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace, man.